Most people never reach their potential because they never destroy the version of themselves that is holding them back. They want a new life without becoming a new person. They want confidence without discomfort, success without sacrifice, discipline without struggle. But transformation doesn't begin when you learn something new. Transformation begins when you finally decide that your old habits, old excuses, old fears, and old identity must die. This audiobook is not about self-improvement. It's about self-reconstruction. Today, you will shatter your limits and rebuild yourself from the ground up. Take a moment and ask yourself one simple question. Who told you what you were capable of? Think about it. Who decided how intelligent you could become? Who decided how successful you were allowed to be? Who decided how much money you could earn? Who decided whether you were a leader or a follower? Most people never ask these questions. They simply accept the invisible walls placed around them years ago. Those walls become their reality. But here is the truth. Your limits are not real. They are stories. Stories repeated so many times that they begin to feel like facts. From the moment you were born, people started defining you. You are shy. You are average. You are not athletic. You are not smart enough. People like us don't become rich. That's impossible. You should be realistic. Little by little, those words became beliefs. Then those beliefs became decisions. Those decisions became habits. And those habits became your life. This is how invisible prisons are built. Not with steel, not with concrete, but with belief. Remember this. The limit is not outside you. The limit is inside you. Say it again. The limit is not outside you. The limit is inside you. Everything changes the moment you understand this. Most people spend their lives trying to change their circumstances. Very few ever think about changing their beliefs. And yet beliefs control everything. Your beliefs determine your actions. Your actions determine your habits. Your habits determine your future. If you believe success is impossible, you won't even try. If you believe you are too old, too young, too late, too broken, too inexperienced, too unlucky, your brain immediately begins searching for evidence that proves you right. Your mind is always working to confirm what you already believe. That is why two people can face the exact same opportunity and see completely different futures. One sees possibility. The other sees danger. One says, "Why not me?" The other says, "People like me can't do that." The opportunity didn't change. Only the belief changed. That belief changed everything. History gives us countless examples. Think about the first person who decided humans could fly. People laughed. Experts said it was impossible. Friends doubted. Critics mocked. Yet someone believed differently. Every great invention began as an impossible idea. Every breakthrough began with someone refusing to accept existing limits. Every extraordinary life began with an ordinary person making an extraordinary decision. The decision to stop believing the lie. You have that same choice. Right now, you have a choice. You can continue believing the story you've been repeating for years. Or you can write a new one. Most people confuse comfort with truth. Because something feels familiar, they assume it must be accurate. But familiarity is not evidence. Just because you've lived with fear for 20 years doesn't mean fear is your identity. Just because you've failed before doesn't mean failure defines you. Just because no one believed in you doesn't mean they were right. Listen carefully. Your past explains where you've been. It does not decide where you are going. Read that again. Your past explains where you've been. It does not decide where you are going. Too many people introduce themselves using yesterday's failures. I've always been bad with money. I've never been disciplined. I've never been confident. I've always struggled. Every time they repeat those sentences, they strengthen the chains around their own mind. Your words become commands. Your identity follows your language. If you constantly describe yourself as weak, your actions will obey. If you constantly describe yourself as capable, your actions begin to change. That is the hidden power of identity. Identity comes before achievement. You don't become successful and then believe in yourself. You begin believing differently, and then success becomes possible. That is why transformation always begins inside, never outside. The world responds to the person you become, not the person you wish you were. Look around. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not free from fear. They simply refuse to let fear make their decisions. They experience doubt. They experience uncertainty. They experience failure. But they move anyway, because they understand something most people never learn. Action destroys imaginary limits. Every step you take proves another excuse wrong. Every challenge you survive makes the next challenge smaller. Every promise you keep to yourself builds evidence that you are changing. Confidence is not something you find. Confidence is something you build. Brick by brick, choice by choice, action by action. That is why waiting to feel ready is one of the greatest mistakes you can make. You will almost never feel completely ready. You move first. Confidence follows later. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Reading books about balance doesn't teach balance. Watching videos doesn't teach balance. Thinking positively doesn't teach balance. Only getting on the bicycle teaches balance. Life works the same way. You learn courage by acting courageously. You learn discipline by practicing discipline. You learn confidence by taking confident action before you feel confident. That is the secret. The people you admire are not fearless. They simply stopped believing their fear. Remember this phrase. The limit is not outside you. The limit is inside you. Again. The limit is not outside you. The limit is inside you. Every excuse loses power the moment you question it. Every fear becomes smaller the moment you face it. Every dream becomes possible the moment you stop asking for permission. Today is not about changing your circumstances. Today is about changing the person who responds to those circumstances. Because when you change the mind, the life follows. When you change the belief, the behavior follows. When you change the identity, the future follows. This is where your reconstruction begins. Not next week. Not next year. Right now. You have carried invisible limits for long enough. It is time to put them down. It is time to challenge every belief that has kept you small. It is time to stop living inside someone else's expectations. Because the life you want exists on the other side of the limits you have accepted. And today, you begin breaking them. Because one truth will guide every chapter that follows. The limit is not outside you. The limit is inside you. That is the key. And from this moment forward, you have a choice. Before you can build a stronger life, you must destroy the person who keeps pulling you backward. That may sound harsh, but it is the truth. You cannot become someone new while protecting the habits, beliefs, and identity of the person you used to be. Most people want transformation. Very few are willing to let go of the version of themselves that feels familiar. They want confidence without changing their thinking. They want success without changing their routines. They want respect without changing their standards. They want a different future while remaining the same person. That never works. A new life always demands a new identity. Read that again. A new life always demands a new identity. You cannot wear yesterday's mindset and expect tomorrow's results. The old version of you has done its job. It brought you this far. But if it hasn't taken you where you truly want to go, then it is time to release it. Not because you hate who you were, but because you respect who you can become. The greatest obstacle to your future is often your attachment to your past. People introduce themselves by telling stories that no longer serve them. I'm just not disciplined. I've always been shy. I'm not a leader. I'm terrible with money. I've never been successful. Listen carefully. Those are not facts. They are identities. And identities become self-fulfilling. If you believe you are lazy, your brain searches for proof. If you believe you always quit, you expect yourself to quit. If you believe you are unlucky, every setback becomes confirmation. Your identity controls your behavior far more than your goals. That is why most New Year's resolutions fail. People try to change their actions without changing who they believe they are. They say, I want to exercise. But inside, they still see themselves as someone who avoids discomfort. They say, I want to save money. But inside, they still identify as someone who is irresponsible. Eventually, the old identity wins, because behavior always returns to identity. Remember this. Your new life requires a new you. Say it again. Your new life requires a new you. Everything begins to change when you stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, who must I become? That single question changes everything. Successful people don't simply perform successful actions. They become successful people. Disciplined people don't force themselves every morning. Discipline becomes part of who they are. Healthy people don't constantly debate whether they should take care of themselves. They simply act in alignment with their identity. Leaders don't wait to feel powerful. They see themselves as leaders first. Then their actions follow. Identity comes first. Behavior follows. Imagine an actor preparing for an important role. They don't just memorize lines. They study the character. They change the way they walk, the way they speak, the way they think. For months, they live as someone else. Eventually, the performance becomes natural. Your life works the same way. You must become the character you wish to live. If you want confidence, begin acting like someone who respects themselves. If you want discipline, begin making decisions that a disciplined person would make. If you want success, ask every day, what would the strongest version of me do right now? Then do that, even if it feels uncomfortable. Especially if it feels uncomfortable. Because growth always feels unfamiliar. Comfort belongs to your old identity. Transformation belongs to your new one. Many people sabotage themselves because they secretly remain loyal to the person they used to be. They continue spending time with people who encourage mediocrity. They keep repeating old routines. They revisit old excuses. They replay old failures. Then they wonder why nothing changes. You cannot rebuild your future while constantly visiting your past. There comes a moment when you must make a decision. Either protect your old identity or build your future. You cannot do both. Think about a snake shedding its skin. It does not negotiate with the old skin. It does not carry it into the future. It leaves it behind. Growth demands release. The same is true for you. Some beliefs must die. Some habits must die. Some excuses must die. Some relationships may even have to change. Not because change is easy, but because transformation requires space. You cannot fill your hands with something new while refusing to let go of what no longer serves you. This is why so many people remain trapped. Not because they lack opportunity, because they refuse to abandon familiarity. The familiar feels safe, even when it is making you miserable. Your future will always feel uncertain, but uncertainty is where growth lives. Every successful person has experienced the uncomfortable feeling of becoming someone new. They questioned themselves. They doubted themselves. They feared failure. Yet they continued, not because they had certainty, but because they had commitment. Commitment is stronger than confidence. Confidence comes and goes. Commitment stays. Every morning you have a choice. Will you think like your old self or your future self? Will you react the way you always have or respond like the person you are becoming? Those tiny choices create your identity. Identity is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built in thousands of ordinary decisions. One promise kept. One workout completed. One difficult conversation handled with maturity. One excuse rejected. One fear confronted. One extra hour invested. These small victories quietly build a new version of you. Most people underestimate small decisions. Yet your life is nothing more than the accumulation of those decisions. One choice becomes a habit. A habit becomes character. Character becomes destiny. That is the process. Never forget it. Your new life requires a new you. Again, your new life requires a new you. Stop introducing yourself by your limitations. Stop describing yourself by your past. Stop repeating the story that keeps you small. Instead, begin speaking from the identity you are creating. Say, I keep my promises. I finish what I start. I solve problems. I embrace discomfort. I become stronger every day. Your brain is always listening. Your actions are always following. The old identity will fight to survive. It will whisper, go back. This is too hard. You've never been this person. Do not argue with that voice. Outwork it. Every action you take becomes evidence. Every disciplined decision weakens the old identity. Every courageous step strengthens the new one. Eventually, the old voice becomes quieter, not because it disappeared, but because you stopped feeding it. This chapter is not asking you to improve yourself. It is asking you to replace yourself. The fearful version, the doubtful version, the excuse-making version, the approval-seeking version. Leave that person behind. Thank them for bringing you this far. Then move forward without them. Because the future you dream about cannot be built by the person you used to be. It can only be built by the person you choose to become today. Remember these words. Your new life requires a new you. That is the key. And today, the old identity ends. The new identity begins. There is a conversation happening inside your mind every single day. It sounds harmless. It sounds reasonable. It even sounds intelligent. But it is costing you your future. It begins with simple phrases. I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired. I don't have enough time. I'm waiting for the right opportunity. I'll do it when I feel motivated. Those words feel small, but they are not small. They are negotiations. Negotiations between the person you are today and the person you could become. And every time you choose the excuse over the action, the excuse grows stronger. Listen carefully. Every excuse you accept becomes a standard you live by. The moment you justify quitting once, quitting becomes easier the second time. The second time becomes the third. The third becomes a habit. Eventually, you no longer notice it. You simply become someone who always has a reason not to act. That is how dreams disappear. Not through one dramatic failure, but through thousands of tiny negotiations. Remember this. Excuses explain failure. They never create success. Say it again. Excuses explain failure. They never create success. Your excuses are not protecting you. They are imprisoning you. Think about the goals you have delayed, the book you wanted to write, the business you wanted to start, the skill you wanted to learn, the body you wanted to build, the conversations you avoided, the opportunities you ignored. How many of them were stopped by reality? And how many were stopped by excuses? Be honest. Most people do not lose to circumstances. They lose to the stories they tell themselves about those circumstances. One person says, I don't have enough money. Another person starts with almost nothing and builds an empire. One person says, I'm too old. Another begins a new career at 50, 60, or even 70. One person says, I'm too young. Another launches a company before finishing school. The circumstance is not the deciding factor. The response is, that is the difference. Your life changes the moment you stop asking, why can't I? And start asking, how can I? Every problem contains an excuse. But every problem also contains a solution. The direction of your life depends on which one you focus on. Successful people are not people without problems. They are people who refuse to use problems as permission to quit. They ask different questions. Instead of saying, this is impossible, they ask, what is my next move? Instead of saying, I don't know enough, they ask, what can I learn today? Instead of saying, I failed, they ask, what did this teach me? That shift changes everything. Excuses close doors. Responsibility opens them. Many people spend years waiting for perfect conditions. The perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect economy, the perfect amount of confidence, the perfect moment. But perfection never arrives. Life rewards movement, not waiting. You do not need perfect conditions. You need decisive action. There will always be reasons to stop. There will always be obstacles. There will always be uncertainty. If you wait for every challenge to disappear before taking action, you will spend your entire life waiting. The people who build extraordinary lives understand this truth. They move before they feel ready. They move when it is inconvenient. They move when it is uncomfortable. They move because progress belongs to those who act, not those who hesitate. Think about an airplane. It burns the most fuel during takeoff. That first climb demands the greatest effort. After that, maintaining altitude becomes easier. Your goals work the same way. Starting is difficult. Continuing becomes easier. But you must stop negotiating with yourself before you ever leave the ground. Every morning your mind offers you a deal. Skip today's workout. You deserve another hour of sleep. One more day won't matter. Start next Monday. At first, those thoughts sound harmless. But they are expensive. Because every time you accept them, you teach yourself that your comfort is more important than your commitment. Eventually, your brain expects you to quit. It expects you to delay. It expects you to settle. Do not train yourself to become unreliable. Train yourself to become someone who follows through. When you say you will do something, do it. When you make a promise, keep it. When you choose a goal, pursue it. Not because it is easy, but because every kept promise builds trust with yourself. Self-confidence is built through self-respect. And self-respect grows every time your actions match your words. Imagine two people. Both wake up early intending to work toward a dream. The first person feels tired. They decide to stay in bed. The second person feels equally tired. But they get up anyway. Neither person controlled how they felt. They controlled what they did. Months later, their lives look completely different. Not because one had more talent. Not because one had better luck. Because one chose action over excuses. That choice repeated itself every day. Never underestimate the power of repetition. One excuse becomes a pattern. One disciplined action becomes a pattern too. The question is, which pattern are you building? Excuses are seductive because they remove responsibility. They allow you to blame time, money, luck, your childhood, your boss, your circumstances, other people. But blaming may protect your pride today. It will not build your future tomorrow. Responsibility is heavy, but it is also empowering. Because the moment you take responsibility, you regain control. If your choices created part of the problem, your choices can create the solution. That is freedom. There is another truth you must accept. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to hand you discipline. No one is going to wake up every morning and force you to chase your dream. No one will build your future for you. That responsibility belongs to you. And that is good news, because it means your future is still in your hands. Stop saying, I have to. Start saying, I choose to. Those two words transform your mindset. I choose to exercise. I choose to learn. I choose to grow. I choose to improve. Choice creates ownership. Ownership creates action. Action creates results. Remember these words. Excuses explain failure. They never create success. Again, excuses explain failure. They never create success. From this day forward, make one simple rule. When your mind offers an excuse, answer it with action. When it says, I'm tired, take one more step. When it says, I'll do it tomorrow, begin today. When it says, it's too hard, stay with the work a little longer. Every time you reject an excuse, you strengthen your character. Every time you honor your commitment, you become a different person. That is how transformation happens. Not in one giant leap, but in thousands of small victories over the voice that tells you to quit. The strongest people in the world are not those with the fewest excuses. They are those who stopped listening to them. So stop negotiating. Stop delaying. Stop waiting. Stop explaining. Decide. Repeat. Because your future is not built by the excuses you make. It is built by the actions you take. Remember this one final time. Excuses explain failure. They never create success. That is the key. And from this moment forward, action speaks louder than every excuse you have ever believed. Every person suffers. The question is not whether you will experience pain. The question is, which pain will you choose? There are only two kinds. The pain of discipline, or the pain of regret. The pain of growth, or the pain of staying the same. The discomfort of becoming stronger, or the lifelong disappointment of never discovering what you were capable of. You cannot escape pain, but you can choose the kind of pain that shapes your future. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid taking risks. They avoid failure. They avoid criticism. They avoid rejection. They avoid hard work. They avoid uncertainty. For a moment it feels like relief, but that relief comes with a hidden price. Every time you run from discomfort, you run toward regret. Remember this. Today's discomfort becomes tomorrow's strength. Say it again. Today's discomfort becomes tomorrow's strength. Nothing extraordinary is built inside a comfort zone. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels familiar. Comfort asks nothing of you. But comfort also gives you nothing you do not already have. Growth demands something different. Growth asks you to wake up early when you want to sleep. Growth asks you to keep studying when others are scrolling. Growth asks you to keep practicing after you've already failed. Growth asks you to continue when your emotions tell you to stop. That is why so few people become extraordinary. Not because they lack talent, but because they refuse to become comfortable with discomfort. Think about the strongest steel. It is forged in intense heat. Think about diamonds. They are formed under enormous pressure. Think about muscles. They only grow after being challenged beyond their current limits. Nature teaches the same lesson over and over again. Pressure creates strength. Resistance creates growth. Discomfort creates transformation. Why should your life be any different? Yet many people expect success to arrive without sacrifice. They want confidence without facing fear. They want discipline without resisting temptation. They want success without enduring setbacks. They want greatness while remaining comfortable. That is impossible. Everything valuable has a price. The question is, are you willing to pay it? Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. The climb is steep. The air grows thinner. Your legs begin to ache. Every step feels harder than the last. You have two choices. Turn back because the climb is uncomfortable, or continue because the view from the top is worth it. Life is that mountain. Most people never reach the summit because they mistake discomfort for danger. But discomfort is not always a warning. Sometimes it is an invitation to grow, an invitation to become stronger, an invitation to discover abilities you never knew you possessed. Every meaningful achievement begins where comfort ends. Think about the first time you learned something difficult. Reading, driving, speaking in public, starting a business, building a new habit. First, everything felt awkward. You doubted yourself. You made mistakes. You wanted to quit. But each day you stayed with the discomfort, you became a little stronger. Eventually, what once felt impossible became normal. That is the power of persistence. The uncomfortable becomes familiar. The difficult becomes manageable. The impossible becomes achievable. Only because you refuse to quit. Many people misunderstand courage. They believe courageous people are fearless. That is not true. Courage is acting while fear is present. Discipline is acting while motivation is absent. Strength is continuing while comfort calls your name. You don't need fear to disappear. You need your purpose to become greater than your fear. Ask yourself this question. What is the cost of avoiding discomfort? If you never apply for that opportunity, What will it cost? If you never start the business, what will it cost? If you never improve your health, what will it cost? If you never have the difficult conversation, what will it cost? Most people calculate the cost of action. Very few calculate the cost of inaction. But inaction has a price. Years pass. Dreams fade. Potential remains hidden. Regret grows quietly. And one day people wake up asking, what if I had tried? That question has broken more hearts than failure ever could. Failure teaches. Regret haunts. Failure says, you learned. Regret says, you never found out. Never allow fear of temporary discomfort to create permanent regret. There is another truth. Your mind will always exaggerate discomfort before you begin. A workout feels harder before you start. A difficult conversation feels scarier before it happens. A challenging project feels impossible before the first step. But once you begin, the discomfort starts to shrink. Action reduces fear. Movement destroys hesitation. Momentum creates confidence. That is why waiting rarely helps. Action does. Every day presents a decision. Comfort now, or confidence later. Ease today, or excellence tomorrow. Temporary pleasure, or lasting fulfillment. You have a choice. Every choice writes your future. Successful people are not addicted to comfort. They are addicted to progress. They understand that comfort is earned after the work is complete, not before. They know that every difficult decision made today becomes a powerful advantage tomorrow. That extra hour of study, that early morning workout, that uncomfortable conversation, that disciplined financial decision. Those moments seem small, but over months and years, they create extraordinary lives. Never underestimate the compound effect of choosing discomfort. One difficult decision becomes a habit. That habit becomes discipline. Discipline becomes character. Character becomes destiny. That is how transformation happens. Not through one heroic moment, but through countless ordinary moments where you choose growth over ease. Remember these words. Today's discomfort becomes tomorrow's strength. Again, today's discomfort becomes tomorrow's strength. When your mind tells you, this is too hard, smile, because that is often a sign you are growing. When your body says, I'm tired, ask yourself, am I truly exhausted, or am I simply uncomfortable? There is a difference. Learn to recognize it, because comfort has a persuasive voice. It whispers, skip today, rest a little longer. You deserve a break. Start tomorrow. If you listen every time, tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. Eventually, years disappear. Do not surrender your future for temporary comfort. Choose the harder path when it leads to a better life. Choose the uncomfortable conversation that saves the relationship. Choose the difficult workout that strengthens your body. Choose the disciplined habit that changes your future. Choose the challenge that develops your character. Because every meaningful transformation begins with one uncomfortable decision. This chapter is not asking you to seek suffering. It is asking you to stop running from growth. There is wisdom in knowing the difference. Pain with purpose builds you. Pain without purpose drains you. Choose the pain that creates strength. Choose the struggle that develops resilience. Choose the discomfort that prepares you for the life you truly want. One day you will look back on this season. The early mornings, the sacrifices, the failures, the discipline, the moments when you almost gave up. And you will realize, those were not the hardest days of your life. They were the days that built your life. Remember this one final time. Today's discomfort becomes tomorrow's strength. That is the key. Today you stand at a crossroads. One road leads to comfort. The other leads to growth. Choose wisely, because every step toward discomfort is a step away from regret. And every step away from regret is a step toward the person you were born to become. Everything you see around you was created twice. First, in the mind, then, in reality. Every business, every invention, every masterpiece, every great achievement, every extraordinary life. It all began as a thought. Before a building stands tall, it exists as a blueprint. Before an athlete wins a championship, victory exists in the imagination. Before a leader changes the world, they first change the way they think. Your life follows the same principle. If you want to rebuild your life, you must first rebuild your mind. Because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Remember this. Change the mind. Change the life. Say it again. Change the mind. Change the life. Most people spend years trying to change their circumstances. They search for a better job, a better house, a better relationship, a better income, a better opportunity. But they carry the same mindset into every new situation. Then they wonder why the results never truly change. The environment changes. The thinking does not. And because the thinking remains the same, the outcomes eventually become the same. A different location cannot fix an unchanged mindset. A larger paycheck cannot repair poor financial habits. A new relationship cannot heal an old way of thinking. Real transformation always begins within. The mind is the command center of your life. Every decision starts there. Every habit begins there. Every action is approved there. If the command center is weak, the entire system becomes weak. If the command center is strong, everything else begins to organize itself. That is why your greatest investment should never be in possessions. It should be in your thinking. The quality of your life can never consistently exceed the quality of your mind. Think about a gardener. If the soil is unhealthy, the harvest will always be limited. The gardener does not blame the fruit. The gardener improves the soil. Your mind is the soil. Your habits are the seeds. Your future is the harvest. If you want better results, begin by improving the soil. Many people attempt to change behavior without changing belief. They force themselves to act differently while secretly believing they are incapable. That creates conflict. Eventually, the old belief pulls them back. Because belief is stronger than temporary motivation. Imagine trying to drive a car while pressing the accelerator and the brake at the same time. You will move slowly. You will waste energy. You will become frustrated. That is exactly what happens when your goals and your beliefs are fighting each other. You say, I want success. But inside you believe, I'm not good enough. You say, I want confidence. But inside you repeat, I always fail. Your words move forward. Your beliefs pull backward. To move freely, both must align. That is why rebuilding the mind comes first. Your thoughts are not harmless. They are instructions. Every repeated thought becomes a mental pathway. The more often you think something, the easier it becomes to think it again. This is why negative thinking can become automatic. Not because it is true, because it has been repeated. Fortunately, the opposite is also true. Positive, disciplined, empowering thoughts can also become automatic. But only through repetition. Your mind believes what it hears most often. Be careful what you tell yourself. The voice inside your head is always listening. If you repeatedly say, I can't, your brain stops searching for solutions. If you repeatedly say, I'll find a way, your brain begins looking for possibilities. The difference is only a few words, but those words shape an entire future. Remember this. Change the mind. Change the life. Again. Change the mind. Change the life. Think about the thermostat in your home. If it is set to 20 degrees, the heating system works until that temperature is reached. If the room becomes warmer, the system adjusts. If the room becomes colder, it adjusts again. Your mindset works like that thermostat. It has an internal setting. If you secretly believe you deserve very little, you will unconsciously return to that level. Even after success. Even after opportunity. Even after progress. That is why some people achieve success and then lose it. Their external results exceeded their internal identity. Eventually, they return to what felt familiar. Do not simply raise your goals. Raise your internal standard. Become the kind of person who naturally produces better results. That transformation begins with your daily thoughts. What do you feed your mind each day? Fear? Complaints? Comparison? Excuses? Or knowledge? Gratitude? Discipline? Possibility? Your mind cannot produce greatness if it is constantly consuming negativity. Protect your thoughts the way you protect your home. Not everyone deserves access. Not every opinion deserves attention. Not every fear deserves belief. Guard your mental environment, because whatever enters your mind eventually influences your actions. There is another truth. Your emotions are temporary. Your principles must be permanent. Some mornings you will feel inspired. Some mornings you will not. If your life depends on your emotions, your progress will always be inconsistent. Instead, let your decisions be guided by principles. Do what matters, even when you do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it. That is mental maturity. Many people ask, how do I stay motivated? The better question is, how do I become mentally disciplined? Motivation comes and goes. Discipline remains. Discipline does not ask, how do I feel? Discipline asks what needs to be done. That mindset changes everything. The strongest people are not those with the fewest negative thoughts. They are those who refuse to obey every negative thought. You do not have to believe everything your mind says. Some thoughts deserve to be challenged. When your mind says, you are not capable, answer, I am still learning. When it says, you always fail, answer, I improve every time I try. When it says, this is impossible, answer, I will find another way. Talk back to the voice that wants to keep you small. Do not let it become your master. Become its leader. Remember, your brain is always adapting. Every disciplined choice rewires your thinking. Every courageous action weakens fear. Every promise you keep strengthens belief. You are training your mind every single day. The only question is, what are you training it to become? Train it to focus instead of complain. Train it to solve instead of blame. Train it to persist instead of quit. Train it to believe instead of doubt. Because the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your future. One powerful thought repeated consistently can transform an entire life. That is why successful people protect their mornings. They choose what enters their minds before the world has a chance to influence them. They read. They reflect. They plan. They visualize. They prepare. They lead their mind instead of reacting to it. You can do the same. You do not need perfect circumstances. You need intentional thinking. The mind you build today becomes the life you live tomorrow. Never forget that. Remember these words one final time. Change the mind. Change the life. Again. Change the mind. Change the life. Do not wait for your life to improve before changing your mindset. Change your mindset first. The life you want will begin to follow. Because every great transformation begins with one invisible decision. The decision to think differently. The decision to become different. That is where rebuilding truly begins. Not in your bank account. Not in your career. Not in your relationships. But in your mind. Rebuild it with purpose. Strengthen it with discipline. Protect it with wisdom. And the life you dream of will no longer be a distant possibility. It will become the natural result of the person you have chosen to become. There is one lie that has stolen more dreams than failure ever has. It sounds reasonable. It sounds responsible. It even sounds wise. The lie is this: I'll start when I'm ready. Think about how many times you've said those words. I'll start the business when I know more. I'll apply for the job when I become more confident. I'll speak up when I stop being nervous. I'll chase my dream when the timing is perfect. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. And nothing changes. Because the truth is simple. You will almost never feel completely ready. Read that again. You will almost never feel completely ready. If you wait until fear disappears, you will wait forever. If you wait until confidence arrives, you will remain exactly where you are. The people you admire did not begin because they felt ready. They became ready because they began. Remember this. Action creates confidence. Say it again. Action creates confidence. Most people believe confidence comes first. Then action follows. Reality works in the opposite direction. First comes action. Then comes experience. Experience creates competence. Competence creates confidence. Confidence is not the starting line. Confidence is the reward for showing up consistently. Think about the first time you learned to swim. Did you stand at the edge of the pool waiting until you felt completely confident? Of course not. You entered the water while feeling uncertain. You struggled. You swallowed water. You made mistakes. Little by little, your body adapted. Your confidence grew with every lesson. Life works the same way. You cannot think your way into confidence. You must act your way into it. The first speech feels uncomfortable. The 10th feels manageable. The 100th feels natural. The difference is not talent. The difference is repetition. Many people overestimate preparation and underestimate experience. Preparation matters. Learning matters. Planning matters. But at some point, preparation becomes procrastination wearing a disguise. You tell yourself you are getting ready, but deep down you are avoiding the possibility of failure. Perfection becomes an excuse to delay progress. Do not confuse preparation with progress. Planning alone has never changed a life. Execution does. Imagine an airplane sitting on a runway. Its engines are powerful. Its destination is programmed. Its fuel tank is full. Everything is ready. Yet it remains motionless. Why? Because power without movement changes nothing. Potential without action produces no results. You are no different. You may have talent. You may have intelligence. You may have great ideas. But if those gifts remain trapped inside hesitation, the world never benefits from them. Potential is only valuable when it becomes action. Many people spend years protecting their potential. They avoid challenges because they fear looking inexperienced. They avoid opportunities because they fear rejection. They avoid responsibility because they fear failure. But in trying to protect their potential, they waste it. Failure is not the enemy. And used potential is. Remember these words. Action creates confidence. Again, action creates confidence. Look back at your life. Every important milestone probably began before you felt prepared. Your first day of school. Your first job. Your first interview. Your first presentation. Your first difficult conversation. Your first major responsibility. Were you ready? Probably not. Did you figure it out? Yes. Because human beings are remarkably adaptable. We grow through experience, not through endless hesitation. Your mind has a remarkable habit. It magnifies uncertainty before you begin. It whispers, what if you fail? What if people laugh? What if you're not good enough? But notice something interesting. Your mind rarely asks, what if you succeed? What if this changes your life? What if you're stronger than you think? Fear only tells one side of the story. Do not mistake fear for truth. Fear is a prediction, not a guarantee. Every successful person has walked into uncertainty. The entrepreneur launching a company, the athlete entering a championship, the artist sharing their work, the leader making a difficult decision. None of them had complete certainty. They had commitment. Commitment moves while confidence catches up. There will always be information you do not have, skills you still need, mistakes you have yet to make. That is normal. Growth requires imperfection. Imagine trying to learn a language. Would you refuse to speak until you knew every word? Of course not. You speak imperfectly. You make mistakes. You improve. The mistakes become teachers. The same principle applies to every goal. Progress belongs to those willing to look inexperienced for a while. Most people are not held back by lack of ability. They are held back by fear of appearing incapable. But everyone begins as a beginner. Every expert was once uncertain. Every master was once clumsy. Every champion was once unknown. The difference is simple. They started. You have a choice. You can spend years waiting to become ready. Or you can become ready by taking action today. One path leads to experience. The other leads to regret. Choose wisely. There is another danger in waiting. The longer you delay, the larger the challenge appears. Your imagination turns small obstacles into giant mountains. But once you begin, Reality is often much easier than your fears predicted. Action shrinks problems. Movement creates momentum. Momentum builds belief. That is why the hardest step is almost always the first one. After that, the next step becomes easier. Then easier again. Until what once terrified you becomes routine. Never underestimate the power of the first step. One phone call. One application. One workout. One chapter. One conversation. One decision. Small beginnings create extraordinary endings. Too many people want certainty before commitment. Life does not work that way. Life rewards commitment first. Then it reveals the next step. Imagine driving at night. Your headlights illuminate only a short distance ahead. Yet you can still complete the entire journey. Why? Because each section of light reveals the next. Life is exactly the same. You do not need to see the whole path. You only need enough courage to take the next step. Then the next. Then the next. Remember this. Movement creates clarity. Waiting creates confusion. The more you act, the more direction you gain. The more you delay, the more doubt you create. Action answers questions that thinking never can. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be complete certainty. There will never be a guarantee. Stop demanding guarantees from a future that rewards courage. Your future is not waiting for perfection. It is waiting for your decision. So make a new rule. When fear says, wait, take one step forward. When doubt says, not yet, begin anyway. When uncertainty says, you are not ready, answer with action. Because action is the only language fear truly understands. Remember these words one final time. Action creates confidence. Again, action creates confidence. One decision can change the direction of your life. Not because the decision is magical, but because it breaks the habit of hesitation. Today, stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for confidence. Stop waiting to become someone you already have the potential to be. Take the first step. Then take another. And another. Because the person you want to become is not waiting at the end of perfect preparation. That person is waiting on the other side of courageous action. Act before you feel ready. And one day you will look back and realize you were becoming ready every step of the way. At number 4 is a mysterious object called Oumuamua, the first known interstellar visitor ever detected passing through our solar system. Unlike normal asteroids or comets, Oumuamua had a strange cigar-like shape and accelerated in ways scientists could not fully explain. It did not behave like any known space object. Some researchers suggested it might have been pushed by hidden gas emissions, while others proposed far more unusual ideas, including the possibility of alien technology. Even today, Oumuamua remains one of the most puzzling objects humanity has ever observed. At number 3 is a black hole that should not exist according to current theories. Astronomers discovered supermassive black holes in the early universe that formed far too quickly after the Big Bang. One example is the black hole inside quasar J0313-1806, which grew to billions of times the mass of the Sun incredibly early in cosmic history. Scientists cannot fully explain how something so massive formed in such a short amount of time. These ancient black holes challenge our understanding of how the universe evolved during its earliest ages. At number 2 is the diamond planet known as 55 Cancri E. This bizarre world is believed to contain enormous amounts of carbon under intense pressure, potentially forming gigantic layers of diamond beneath its surface. Imagine an entire planet filled with diamonds larger than anything on Earth. Temperatures on the planet are extremely hot, reaching thousands of degrees, making it a burning gemstone floating through space. The idea of a diamond planet once sounded like science fiction, yet astronomers believe worlds like this may actually exist. And finally, at number 1 is the most impossible object of all, quasars. Quasars are unbelievably bright cosmic objects powered by supermassive black holes consuming enormous amounts of matter. Some quasars shine brighter than entire galaxies containing billions of stars. Your life is not built by your biggest decisions. It is built by your smallest ones. The choices you barely notice. The routines you repeat every morning. The habits you defend without thinking. the actions you perform on autopilot. These quiet moments shape your future far more than dramatic events ever will. One habit may seem insignificant today, but repeated hundreds of times, it becomes your identity. Repeated thousands of times, it becomes your destiny. That is why your habits matter. Not because of what they do in one day, but because of what they do over many years. Remember this: your habits become your future. Say it again. Your habits become your future. Most people underestimate the power of small actions. They think change requires one massive breakthrough, one life-changing opportunity, one extraordinary moment. But life rarely changes that way. Transformation is almost always quiet. It happens in ordinary moments. Choosing water instead of another unhealthy drink. Reading 10 pages instead of scrolling for another hour. Saving a little money instead of spending everything. Going to bed on time. Keeping one promise to yourself. These actions seem too small to matter until you repeat them every day. Then they become unstoppable. Success is rarely an event. It is a habit. Failure is rarely an accident. It is also a habit. Look at any area of your life. Your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, your mindset. Each one reflects the habits you have practiced. If you dislike the result, do not begin by blaming the outcome. Examine the routine that created it. A tree grows from its roots. Your future grows from your habits. Imagine a plane flying from one city to another. If the pilot changes the direction by just 1 degree, the plane will seem to stay on the same path at first. But over hundreds of miles, that tiny adjustment leads to a completely different destination. Habits work exactly the same way. Small daily improvements create extraordinary long-term results. Small daily compromises create extraordinary long-term regret. Never ignore the power of 1 degree. Most destructive habits never announce themselves. They arrive quietly. I'll skip today. I deserve this. Just 5 more minutes. 1 more episode. 1 more excuse. They appear harmless, but repetition gives them power. 1 missed workout becomes a week. 1 week becomes a month. 1 month becomes a lifestyle. This is how people slowly drift away from the life they wanted. Not through 1 terrible decision, but through hundreds of unnoticed ones. That is why awareness matters. You cannot change what you refuse to recognize. Ask yourself honestly, which habits are quietly stealing your future? Is it procrastination, negative self-talk, complaining, late nights, endless scrolling, avoiding difficult conversations, seeking constant approval, making promises you never keep? Every habit has a cost. Some costs are immediate. Most are delayed. That delay is dangerous, because when consequences are delayed, people believe their habits are harmless. A person who eats unhealthy food today may feel fine tomorrow. A person who avoids exercise today may notice nothing this week. A person who wastes 1 hour today may not see the damage immediately. But years later, the bill arrives. Life always collects payment. The question is, will you pay with discipline now, or regret later? Remember these words. Your habits become your future. Again, your habits become your future. There is another truth you must understand. Bad habits do not begin because you are weak. They begin because they offer immediate comfort. Your brain loves instant rewards. Comfort now. Pleasure now. Entertainment now. Relief now. But the greatest rewards in life rarely arrive immediately. Health is earned over time. Wealth is built over time. Trust is developed over time. Mastery is created over time. Character is shaped over time. You must learn to value delayed rewards more than instant gratification. That is maturity. Imagine two people. Every day, the first person chooses what is easy. The second chooses what is necessary. After 1 week, there is little difference. After 1 month, still very little. After 1 year, the gap becomes obvious. After 10 years, they are living completely different lives. Not because of luck, not because of talent, because of habits. The compound effect is always working, whether you notice it or not. Every action is casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Every workout casts a vote for a healthy identity. Every book casts a vote for a knowledgeable identity. Every honest conversation casts a vote for a trustworthy identity. Every excuse casts a vote for weakness. Every delay casts a vote for mediocrity. The question is not, what do I do once? The question is, what identity am I reinforcing every day? That answer changes everything. Do not focus only on eliminating bad habits. Replace them. Nature hates empty space. If you remove one routine without creating another, the old habit usually returns. Replace endless scrolling with reading. Replace complaining with gratitude. Replace excuses with action. Replace late nights with intentional rest. Replace fear with preparation. Replace distraction with focus. Your brain needs a new pattern, not simply the absence of the old one. Many people fail because they depend on motivation. Motivation is unpredictable. Habits are dependable. Build routines that work even when motivation disappears. Do the work whether you feel inspired or not, especially when you do not. That is where character is built. Success is not what you do occasionally. It is what you do consistently. Consistency beats intensity. A single perfect day changes very little. 1,000 disciplined days change everything. Never underestimate ordinary consistency. 1 page every day becomes dozens of books. 1 workout every day transforms a body. 1 kind conversation every day strengthens relationships. 1 disciplined financial decision every day creates wealth. Small actions become extraordinary outcomes when repeated long enough. Remember this. Your future is hidden inside your daily routine. If you want to predict where you will be in 5 years, look at what you repeatedly do today. That is your direction. There is no shortcut around this principle. You cannot repeatedly make poor choices and expect an extraordinary future. Likewise, you cannot repeatedly make wise choices without eventually seeing remarkable results. The system always works, whether for you or against you, so become the architect of your habits. Do not allow your habits to build themselves. Design your mornings. Design your evenings. Design your environment. Make success easier. Make distraction harder. Remove temptations before they become decisions. Prepare before you are tested. Winning tomorrow begins with preparation today. Every habit either strengthens your future or weakens it. There is no neutral choice. Every decision is shaping someone. That someone is you. Remember these words one final time. Your habits become your future. Again, your habits become your future. Today, make one decision. Identify the habit that has been quietly stealing your potential. Destroy it. Not tomorrow. Not next Monday. Today. Then replace it with one habit that moves you toward the life you truly want. Because transformation does not begin with one extraordinary act. It begins with one ordinary habit repeated with extraordinary consistency. Destroy the habits that destroy you. Build the habits that build you. And one day you will wake up and realize your daily routine has become the life you once dreamed of. There is one quality that separates ordinary lives from extraordinary ones. It is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not connections. It is discipline. Discipline is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. Without it, dreams remain wishes. Goals remain ideas. Potential remains hidden. With it, impossible goals become inevitable achievements. Most people admire successful individuals and ask, what is their secret? They expect to hear about a special strategy, a hidden opportunity, a lucky break. But behind almost every remarkable success is the same invisible force. Daily discipline, the willingness to do what is necessary, even when it is uncomfortable, even when no one is watching, even when there is no applause. Remember this. Discipline is freedom. Say it again. Discipline is freedom. At first, that statement sounds backward. Many people believe discipline takes away freedom. They think rules create limitations. They think structure removes joy. But look closer. The person who lacks financial discipline becomes a prisoner of debt. The person who lacks physical discipline becomes trapped by poor health. The person who lacks emotional discipline becomes controlled by every mood. The person who lacks mental discipline becomes distracted by every opinion. Undisciplined choices create invisible chains. Discipline breaks them. The disciplined person wakes up with options. The undisciplined person wakes up with consequences. That is the difference. Freedom is not doing whatever you feel like doing. Freedom is having the strength to do what matters most. Real freedom is self-control. Imagine a powerful river. Without banks, the water spreads in every direction. It loses force. It becomes shallow. But when the river flows within strong boundaries, it gains incredible power. Can move mountains, generate electricity, carve through stone. Your life works the same way. Discipline provides the boundaries that give your energy direction. Without discipline, effort is scattered. With discipline, effort becomes unstoppable. Many people wait for motivation. They say, I'll work when I feel inspired. I'll exercise when I have more energy. I'll start when I feel excited. That mindset guarantees inconsistency. Motivation is like the weather. Some days it arrives. Some days it disappears. If your success depends on motivation, your progress will always rise and fall. Discipline is different. Discipline says, I do the work whether I feel like it or not. That is why discipline wins. Every single time. Think about a professional athlete. Do they train only when they feel motivated? No. They train when they are tired. They train when it rains. They train after losses. They train after victories. Because champions understand something that amateurs ignore. Feelings are temporary. Standards are permanent. The same principle applies to your life. Do not lower your standards because your emotions changed. Raise your actions until they match your standards. Remember these words. Discipline is freedom. Again, discipline is freedom. There is another truth. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you send your mind a powerful message. I can trust myself. That message becomes confidence. Confidence does not come from positive thinking. It comes from positive evidence. Evidence created by disciplined action. Every workout completed. Every promise honored. Every distraction resisted. Every difficult task finished. Each one strengthens your belief in yourself. Over time, you stop wondering if you are capable. You know you are, because you have proof. Many people think discipline means making life harder. The opposite is true. Discipline makes difficult things easier. Imagine brushing your teeth. You no longer debate whether to do it. It is automatic. Now imagine if exercise became that automatic. If reading became automatic. If saving money became automatic. If planning your day became automatic. That is the power of discipline. It removes unnecessary decisions. Successful people do not rely on constant willpower. They build routines that make good choices normal. Every routine saves mental energy. Every routine increases consistency. Every routine moves you closer to mastery. There is a hidden enemy of discipline. It is called negotiation. Every morning your mind begins negotiating. Skip today. You worked hard yesterday. One day won't matter. Start next week. If you negotiate every day, you weaken your standards. Eventually, your brain expects compromise. Instead, make certain decisions non-negotiable. If you decided to wake up at 6, wake up at 6. If you committed to reading every evening, read every evening. If you promised yourself you would exercise, exercise. Do not argue with yourself. Execute. The less you negotiate, the stronger your discipline becomes. Think of discipline as a muscle. The first workout feels difficult. The second is still challenging. The 10th becomes easier. The 100th becomes part of your identity. Every disciplined decision strengthens that muscle. Every excuse weakens it. The choice is always yours. Many people fail because they chase intensity instead of consistency. They work 12 hours one day, then accomplish nothing for the next 3. They train for 2 weeks, then quit for a month. They save money briefly, then overspend again. Extreme effort followed by inconsistency creates frustration. Small, consistent effort creates transformation. 1 disciplined hour every day beats 10 random hours once a month. 1 healthy meal every day beats 1 week of perfection followed by months of neglect. Consistency is the language of discipline. Master it. Discipline also requires protecting your environment. Do not depend on willpower alone. Remove distractions. Prepare your workspace. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Keep books where you can see them. Silence unnecessary notifications. Make productive choices easier. Make destructive choices harder. Your environment should support your goals, not sabotage them. Another powerful principle is this: never miss twice. You may fail. You may have a bad day. You may fall behind. That is human. But never allow 1 mistake to become a pattern. 1 missed workout is an event. 2 missed workouts begin a habit. 1 unhealthy meal changes little. A week of poor decisions changes direction. Recover quickly. Return immediately. Do not allow temporary failure to become permanent identity. The strongest people are not those who never stumble. They are those who always stand back up. Remember this: perfection is not the goal. persistence is. Discipline is not measured by never making mistakes. It is measured by refusing to stay down. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to honor your standards. Take it. Every difficult moment is another chance to strengthen your character. Use it. Every challenge is another opportunity to prove that your commitment is stronger than your comfort. Accept it. Remember these words one final time. Discipline is freedom. Again, discipline is freedom. Freedom from excuses. Freedom from regret. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from weakness. Freedom from becoming less than you are capable of being. Today, stop waiting for motivation to rescue you. Build routines. Raise your standards. Honor your promises. Protect your focus. Repeat the process every single day. Because discipline is not something you practice once. It is the way you choose to live. One disciplined morning. One disciplined decision. One disciplined action at a time. And one day people will call you lucky. They will admire your success. They will wonder how you became so strong. They will never see the thousands of ordinary moments when you chose discipline over comfort. But you will know, because that is where greatness is built. Quietly, consistently, every single day. How many dreams have died because someone waited for approval? Approval from family. Approval from friends. Approval from strangers. Approval from society. Approval from people who were never going to live their life for them. Maybe you have done the same. Maybe you have delayed a decision because you were afraid of what someone might think. Maybe you have stayed quiet when you should have spoken. Maybe you have remained in a job you no longer love because it looked respectable. Maybe you have hidden your ambitions because they made other people uncomfortable. If that is true, understand this. You are not living your life. You are living your audience's expectations. And that is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. Remember this. You do not need permission to become great. Say it again. You do not need permission to become great. From the moment you were young, you were taught to seek approval. Raise your hand before speaking. Ask before acting. Wait until someone says yes. Those lessons have value in childhood. But many people carry them into adulthood. They continue waiting for someone to tell them they are ready. They wait for encouragement before they begin. They wait for recognition before they believe in themselves. They wait for validation before making a decision. Years pass. Nothing changes. Because the permission they are waiting for never comes. The truth is simple. No one is coming to announce that this is your moment. No one will knock on your door and say, "You are finally qualified to chase your dream." Life does not work that way. Opportunity belongs to those who move, not those who wait. Every great leader eventually reaches a moment where they stop asking, "What will people think?" and start asking, "What do I believe is right?" That single shift changes everything. The people who change the world are rarely those who seek universal approval. They are the people who remain committed even when approval is absent. Think about every major innovation in history, every bold idea, every movement, every breakthrough. At first, many people doubted it, criticized it, mocked it. If those individuals had waited for permission, nothing extraordinary would have happened. Progress has always belonged to those willing to stand alone for a while. There is another truth you must accept. The people whose approval you desperately seek are often just as uncertain as you are. They have fears. They have doubts. They make mistakes. Yet you allow their opinions to determine your future. Why? Because approval feels safe. Rejection feels painful. Your brain is wired to avoid rejection. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by your tribe could threaten survival. Today, rejection usually threatens only your comfort. Yet your brain reacts as though criticism is life-threatening. It is not. Someone disagreeing with you is not the end of your story. Someone laughing at your dream does not make your dream impossible. Someone doubting you does not reduce your potential. Only you can do that. Remember these words. You do not need permission to become great. Again, you do not need permission to become great. Imagine an eagle. It does not ask smaller birds if it should fly higher. It simply spreads its wings. Now imagine spending your life asking everyone around you whether your dream is acceptable. The answer will always depend on their fears, not your potential. People give advice through the lens of their own experiences. Someone who fears risk will tell you to stay safe. Someone who never pursued a dream may tell you to lower yours. Someone who quit too early may expect you to quit as well. Be careful whose opinions you allow into your mind. Not every voice deserves influence. There is a difference between seeking wisdom and seeking permission. Wisdom helps you make better decisions. Permission makes other people responsible for your life. Seek wisdom. Never surrender responsibility. Many people ask questions they already know the answer to. Should I start the business? Should I write the book? Should I apply for the opportunity? Should I learn the skill? Deep inside, they already know what they want. They are not looking for advice. They are looking for someone to remove the fear. But no one can do that. Fear is part of growth. Courage is making the decision anyway. Leadership begins the moment you become willing to disappoint expectations in order to honor your purpose. That does not mean becoming arrogant. It means becoming responsible. There is a difference. Arrogance ignores wisdom. Responsibility listens carefully, then makes its own decision. That is maturity. Another dangerous habit is comparison. Social media makes it easy to measure your beginning against someone else's middle. You see their success, their achievements, their recognition. You begin wondering if you are good enough. Stop. Comparison steals focus. Comparison steals gratitude. Comparison steals momentum. You are not running someone else's race. You are building your own life. The only comparison that matters is this. Are you becoming stronger than you were yesterday? If the answer is yes, keep moving. Another obstacle to greatness is people-pleasing. People-pleasers often say yes when they mean no. They sacrifice their goals to avoid disappointing others. They become exhausted trying to satisfy everyone. Eventually, they discover a painful truth. You can spend your entire life trying to please everyone and still disappoint someone. So choose carefully. Disappoint other people's expectations or disappoint your own potential. You cannot avoid both. Strong people understand boundaries. They know that saying no to distractions allows them to say yes to their purpose. Every unnecessary commitment steals time from something meaningful. Protect your time. Protect your attention. Protect your vision. Because no one else will do it for you. Remember this. Every time you seek permission, you quietly tell yourself, I am not enough to decide. Every time you trust your principles and take action, you tell yourself, I am capable of leading my own life. That belief compounds over time. Eventually, you stop looking outward for confidence. You build it from within. That is true independence. There will always be critics. If you succeed, some people will criticize you. If you fail, some people will criticize you. If you stay the same, some people will criticize you. Since criticism is unavoidable, stop making decisions to avoid it. Make decisions that align with your values instead. Your future should never be controlled by the opinions of people who will never experience the consequences of your choices. They are not living your life. You are. So take ownership of it. Remember these words one final time. You do not need permission to become great. Again, you do not need permission to become great. Today, stop asking whether your dream is acceptable. Stop waiting for applause before taking action. Stop measuring your worth by someone else's opinion. Choose your direction. Trust your preparation. Honor your values. Take responsibility for your future. Because one day people may celebrate the life you build, but they will never fully understand the courage it took to build it. That courage begins today. The moment you stop waiting for permission and start giving it to yourself. There is one voice that has influenced every decision you have ever made. It speaks before you act. It speaks after you fail. It speaks when you wake up. It speaks before you fall asleep. Sometimes it encourages you. Sometimes it destroys you. You carry it everywhere. You cannot escape it. The question is not whether you have an inner voice. The question is, who is controlling it? Because if you do not lead the voice in your head, it will eventually begin leading you. Remember this. Your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. Say it again. Your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. Most people believe that words spoken by other people shape their lives. That is only partly true. The words that truly shape your future are the ones you repeat to yourself every single day. Think about it. How often have you silently said, "I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. I'm too late. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not talented. I'll probably fail." Those thoughts may seem harmless, but your brain does not treat repeated thoughts as opinions. It treats them as instructions. Every repeated thought becomes a command. Every command influences your behavior. Every behavior shapes your future. This is why your inner dialogue matters more than almost anything else. Imagine planting a seed. If you water it every day, it grows. Your thoughts work the same way. Whatever you repeatedly feed becomes stronger. Feed fear. Fear grows. Feed doubt. Doubt grows. Feed confidence. Confidence grows. Feed discipline. Discipline grows. Your attention is water. Your attention is water. Wherever you pour it, growth follows. Many people unknowingly spend years watering weeds. They replay embarrassing moments. They relive old failures. They repeat past mistakes. They imagine worst-case scenarios. Then they wonder why anxiety grows. You become what you repeatedly rehearse. That is why mental rehearsal matters. Professional athletes often visualize successful performance before competition. Musicians mentally practice before stepping on stage. Pilots rehearse emergency situations before they ever face one. Why? Because the brain responds to repetition, whether that repetition is physical or mental. The question becomes, what are you rehearsing every day? Failure or success? Fear or courage? Excuses or solutions? Remember these words. Your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. Again, your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. There is another truth you must understand. Not every thought deserves your belief. Your mind generates thousands of thoughts every day. Some are useful. Many are not. If someone walked up to you on the street and told you, "You will never succeed." Would you automatically believe them? Probably not. Then why automatically believe that same sentence when it comes from your own mind? A thought is not a fact. A fear is not a prophecy. An emotion is not evidence. Learn to question the voice instead of obeying it. When your mind says, "You can't," ask, "Why not?" When it says, "You always fail," ask, "Is that really true?" When it says, "Everyone will judge you," ask, "Where is the proof?" Most negative thoughts become weaker the moment they are challenged. Your inner critic survives because it is rarely questioned. Stop treating every fearful thought like absolute truth. Become curious. Become aware. Become the observer instead of the prisoner. Imagine sitting beside a busy highway. Cars pass by continuously. You notice them, but you do not chase every vehicle. Thoughts are the same. They come. They go. You do not have to climb into every one of them. Let destructive thoughts pass. Choose which ones deserve your attention. That choice changes your life. There is also a difference between speaking kindly to yourself and making excuses. Self-compassion is not weakness. It is honesty without self-destruction. You can admit a mistake without attacking your identity. Instead of saying, "I am a failure," say, "I made a mistake." One sentence defines who you are. The other describes what happened. Never confuse your behavior with your identity. Your actions can improve. Your identity remains full of possibility. Successful people are not free from self-doubt. They simply refuse to let self-doubt make decisions. They hear the fearful voice. Then they move anyway. That is courage. There will always be two voices inside you. One says, "Stay comfortable." The other says, "Keep growing." One says, "Quit." The other says, "One more step." One says, "You are not enough." The other says, "Become more." The voice that becomes stronger is the one you repeatedly feed. Choose wisely. Another powerful habit is speaking to yourself with intention. Begin every morning by reminding yourself who you are becoming. Say, "I honor my commitments. I solve problems. I remain calm under pressure. I finish what I start. I grow stronger through challenges." These are not empty affirmations. They are directions. When paired with disciplined action, they become part of your identity. Words without action are wishes. Words with action become transformation. Protect your mental environment as carefully as your physical environment. What you watch, what you read, who you spend time with, the conversations you entertain, the media you consume, all of it becomes part of your internal dialogue. If negativity surrounds you every day, it eventually begins speaking through you. Choose your influences carefully, because your future self is listening. Another mistake people make is allowing one bad moment to define an entire day. One setback happens. Then the voice says, "The day is ruined." No, one mistake is simply one moment. Do not let one difficult hour become 24 difficult hours. Reset quickly. Recover immediately. Keep moving. Mental resilience is built through rapid recovery, not perfect performance. Remember that. The strongest minds are not free from negative thoughts. They simply refuse to give negative thoughts permanent residence. They notice them, challenge them, replace them, then move forward. That is mastery. not controlling every thought, but controlling which thoughts control you. Remember these words. Your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. Again, your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. Today, begin speaking to yourself as the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. Lead your mind before fear leads it. Replace doubt with determination. Replace complaint with gratitude. Replace hesitation with action. Replace excuses with responsibility. Because every sentence you repeat becomes another brick in the foundation of your identity. Build that foundation carefully. One thought, one word, one decision at a time. The greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that happens inside your own mind. Master that conversation, and you begin mastering your life. Because the voice in your head can become your greatest enemy, or your greatest ally. The choice has always been yours. You started this audiobook with limits. Limits created by fear. Limits created by doubt. Limits created by habits, excuses, and old beliefs. But now you understand something most people never learn. The greatest prison is not a place. It is an identity. And the moment you stop defending that old identity, everything changes. You learned that excuses weaken you. You learned that discomfort strengthens you. You learned that action creates confidence. You learned that discipline beats motivation. You learned that failure is feedback. You learned that standards create success. Most importantly, you learned that you are capable of becoming far more than you have allowed yourself to be. The old version of you has taken you as far as it can. Now comes the real test. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. Choose one habit to destroy. Choose one fear to confront. Choose one action to take today. Then take it immediately, because your future is waiting for a decision. Shatter your limits. Rebuild yourself. And become the person your potential has been waiting for.